Hi there, good evening and welcome to your Sunday show here on the Four Lads Had a Dream podcast network for Sunday the 3rd of May. My name's Scott Patterson. If you're joining us across any of our social media where we are broadcasting live tonight, whether it's on X, Facebook or YouTube, we thank you for your time as always. Dougie's trying to be a smart ass.
I cannot believe that. So Rob and I said beforehand, we would both stand for the beginning of it with pens behind us.
Well, listen.
The show starts and he's on his arse.
I told you, I couldn't stand. This desk doesn't allow. I've not got. You don't want to be looking up at my third chin, mate.
Isn't it unusual for Rob to make an arse of Dougie for anyone who's looking in on the podcast? No. Anyway, if you are joining us across any of our social media platforms, we're really grateful for you joining us. I should say before we get into the introductions, the Sunday show and Four Lads Had a Dream is happy to be looked after this year by Candide, Rhino Express, Clyde Joinery, Athol Industrial Solutions, CSD Air Conditioning, Art of Gold, Black Rooster, and we are also proud supporters of the Rangers Youth Development Company. Douglas, how are you?
I'm great. I am great. It's a long weekend. I've got no work until Tuesday. Although the negative of that means I am looking after 2 children tomorrow whilst my wife works because she doesn't get bank holiday. So it's not a relaxing bank holiday. Yeah. And I'm sure as hell know that Rangers will not make it relaxing come 5:30 tomorrow evening as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously tonight we will be discussing the match in Edinburgh tomorrow, and we'll do a little look ahead to next weekend, maybe the build up to that and the ticket sort of bits and pieces that have went on. Rob, how are you doing, bud?
I'm good, thank you, mate. I'm good. Got a wee invitation to go and watch the women's semi-final earlier on today at the last minute. So it's been an enjoyable day. I've had a wee fix of football, which is nice, and a Rangers team that won.
I know, and
that must have been nice.
How was that experience? Because listen, I know I've done a bit of I nearly said I've done a bit of following the women's team, but I don't want to say that particularly in this forum. But I have been back and forward to watch the women's team, and I have found it really quite enjoyable. I think it's a better look than what I think people really prefer to say. Did you enjoy your afternoon at Hampden?
It was really, really good. I think Montrose probably put up a bit more of a challenge than they have done in the previous 2 games that they played them. But there was a few changes made by the manager, Leanne Crichton, that changed the game. You know, some players that came on, and you could see they were playing decent football second half, so thoroughly deserved the victory. And it was a nice wee afternoon. The wife came along as well, so always good.
Fantastic! What a day! And I think Leanne Crichton deserves something this season. To be perfectly honest with you, so I do hope that she's got one trophy to have at the end of the season. We shall see. Sheryl, how are you doing?
Yeah, do you know what? I'm great. Thank you. It's lovely to be back with you. Rangers haven't ruined my weekend. There's a high chance that they'll ruin my long weekend. But as it stands, they haven't ruined my weekend up until tomorrow at 5:30. So we'll see how it goes. I'm delighted to be back with you.
Rob, I'm going to start with you because we obviously know that tomorrow, bank holiday Monday rather, we are travelling into Edinburgh for. Listen, I've got to be honest. I don't think there's any doubt about it. I think it's the biggest game of the season for us. Frankly, it'll determine a lot. I think it'll determine what happens now between now and the end of the season. Of course, for us moving forward, I think it could determine some narrative that happens during the summer if it was to go belly up. Your thoughts on it at the minute, and maybe a wee bit on your nerves, Rob, if they exist.
Well, it's as we said on Friday, the final game before we go into the final against Celtic. Mate, at the end of the day, it is shit or bust tomorrow, and I think that the one thing that frustrated me with listening to the Raskin and Dio pressers today was that we keep hearing the same old crap for the players about they know that it's a must win.
Yeah,
you know, the only thing I really want is them to start backing up these words and showing us it on the pitch. You know, ultimately, we win tomorrow, we put ourselves right back into this title race with a game coming up against the biggest rivals next weekend. But we've got to get past Hearts first. And if the players and manager do not approach the game in the right way and do not have the right setup from the start, then we don't deserve to win the league. But if we can go to Tynecastle and get 3 points, all of a sudden it changes the mindset a little bit. And I think we are more than capable of going there and beating Hearts. You know, we should really have beaten them twice this year. The first game at Ibrox, a couple of dodgy refereeing decisions cost us in that game.
Yeah.
We beat them comfortably 4-2. You know, if we can put a bit of pressure on, who knows what will happen early doors, but we've got to attack the game the right way. And I think we've also got to be a little bit positive. You know, we've still got a chance. We haven't completely and utterly thrown it away yet. If we don't win on Monday, you know, or tomorrow, a draw isn't good enough. It's got to be 3 points, and then we'll see what happens after that.
Yeah, I mean, I've wrote down the sort of 3 previous matches we've played against Hearts this season, Dougie. So 13th September, we obviously got beat 2-0 at home. That was the Shankland game, which, my goodness, I hope we don't look back on in a couple of weeks as being a dodgy decision. Everyone spoke about it at the time. We had a game just before Christmas where we lost 2-1 in Tynecastle. And I think that was Roll's first defeat in the league, wasn't it? I don't think he was particularly long in the door at that point. Sure it was. 2-1. That was when Butland conceded that goal at his near post from Shankland. And then more recently, of course, in February there, we won 4-2 with a Chermiti hat-trick and Naderi. And I think that may have been his first league goal since he arrived. He'd obviously scored previously today. Duke's very high level. How are you feeling about it tomorrow?
I think Rob absolutely summed it up. Anything less than a victory for Rangers tomorrow, we're out the title race. It's as simple as that. We need to win. Excuse my French, we fucked it against Motherwell.
Yeah.
The performance and the result against Motherwell was embarrassing. In fact, I'm still raging. You know, we just had, you know, arguably one of the best games in recent years in Champions League football on the telly midweek, and I had zero interest on it because I'm so scunnered by Rangers at the moment. I went into that game against Motherwell feeling quite optimistic. You know, we'd had the break, we got the team all rallied up again. There was I didn't like the atmosphere around Ibrox. It was almost a bit of a carnival atmosphere. Get into the Motherwell game. I didn't overly like how the players brought out their kids and stuff before the game. Not a big fan of that. We should be focusing on the game in hand. So I can't help but feel tomorrow the players need to prove themselves. They need to show that they are a team capable of putting up a proper title challenge, because at the first hurdle, the first attempt, we failed against Motherwell. And it's, you looked at the fixtures beforehand, you looked at the fact that we had 2 home games, you thought the other 2 games that are must win, the ones at home, the ones away from home, are the ones that you need to put up the real fight, and we fucked it. So I can't help but feel a wee bit kind of underwhelmed going into tomorrow night's game. Still out of love with the game right now, but it's over to Rangers to prove to fans like myself that they are up for this challenge. And a win tomorrow means that the league title is still on, and it's perplexing to think, you're getting into must-win games, the final against Motherwell, and you're losing it. But we are still in this. We beat Hearts, we beat Celtic. We are absolutely in this title race. But I'll be honest, confidence levels are low over the 2 games. I'll watch it with interest, but I can't help but feel out of love with this team at the moment.
Do you know one thing that really pissed me off over the weekend? Was that Motherwell came to Falkirk, which is just along the road to me, and just lost yesterday. Lost at the team that were playing Championship football last year.
Yeah, that's the thing, Scott. Everyone made it out to be like Motherwell were prime Barcelona last week. I know that Motherwell played well, right? But if Rangers turn up and we play our game, we beat Motherwell. And it's wee things like Motherwell then get at the next game against Falkirk, getting beat. I don't know if you've seen, but Olympiacos get beat again tonight. So if we did win the league, we'd be getting at the group stages. That's how huge that result was last week. We absolutely blew it. We blew it. And as I said, it's not over. We need to keep believing. I just don't feel like this team right now. I feel really low with this team and out of love with this team right now. They need to win my love back.
Sheryl, where are you on the trip to Tynecastle tomorrow?
Do you know what? I'm very much like Dougie, but I also feel incredibly nervous. It would be the most Rangers thing if they approached these next 2 away games, actually got decent results, and then at home against Hibs. Do you know, we just can't rely on them. That's where I am with them at the moment. It's one step forward. We've seen that against Falkirk. We had the high of the second half against Falkirk. I don't know about you guys, but I looked at that starting lineup on Sunday and I didn't have a massive problem with it. But one of the points I made during my BBC cameo yesterday was that, see, to me, watching that on Sunday, it had the feeling of so many games that we've played at Ibrox at that time of the season that meant nothing because the league was already over. That was the kind of, I mean, not the atmosphere that we created, but on the pitch, that was how it looked to me. And if you were an alien that had just been beamed down in the stadium, you would have picked Motherwell as the team that actually had something to play for, because we just looked dead passive and disinterested. And that's my worry with them. It wouldn't surprise me if they were actually massively up for it and managed to get a result tomorrow. I just don't trust that they can ride out the next 4 games, unfortunately.
Sheryl, I'm going to stay with you because obviously one of the things that Danny Rose spoke about in the presser yesterday, which is big news and maybe a bit unexpected, is the return potentially of Naderi and Romans for the match tomorrow. Now, I think my own personal thought process is if we're going to play with this sort of 2 up top role and Chermiti is going to be one of the 2, which I think is a given, the other person has to be Naderi because it feels tailored to his game as far as his movement and general work rate is concerned. Romans just feels like a better option at left back, doesn't he? If both are fit, they need to start.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would start them. And I know that there was arguments otherwise, but I would have been starting Mikey Moore as well. My argument is that if these players have 45 minutes in them, get them on to start with so that you're not bringing them on in the second half when we're chasing the game. I have a feeling that Romans will start. And we've seen without him, I think we all had a bit of praise for Magoma. He's a young guy. He's come in. He's had to play a huge amount of games. But with Romans gone, you just see his frailties and he's nowhere near the same player that Romans is. I think that Romans will start. I have a feeling that Naderi won't make it. He'll maybe be on the bench and he'll maybe start with 1 up front and bring him on in a 2 further in the game. But I don't know. It's just a hunch I have. I hope he starts with both of them, but I don't know. Listening to the kind of way that he's spoken around Romans, he seemed to be, the way I interpret it, a wee bit more positive about Romans than he was about Naderi. But that's maybe just the way I picked it up.
It's funny you said about Romans though, because see, when I seen that Romans missed out in Motherwell, I immediately felt uncomfortable. And as soon as the game started, Scott, you actually seen Motherwell target Magoma. They just kept on playing the long ball with 2 guys. So the ball would either go over him and he'd have a runner in behind, or the Motherwell player would flick it on to the runner. They had a clear game plan to target Magoma, and I think that's what Romans gives you when he's on the park. Is he's not an easy weak link in our team, so you can't target Romans in the same way that you can target Magoma. I can't help but feel that Romans is crucial, and it's crazy to think a left back is crucial for the next 4 games, but I can't help but think without Romans in these next 4 games, we're in a hiding to nothing.
He isn't though, because where did the 2 goals really come from? Where did most of the chances come from against Motherwell? The right hand side. You know, that's the thing we're talking about here. You know, you said that everybody was going on about Motherwell being prime Barca, only because we let them do that with the shape and the setup from the start, and having an extra man in midfield and them being able to play through our half-assed press. And that's the frustrating thing, regardless of who's on the pitch tomorrow. It's the attitude and application right from the start that's the important thing. Now, I agree, Romans is a much better player than Magoma, but you know, he's been a really good player for us this year. The worry was, if you look at a couple of the chances that were created, Sterling was left wanting on that right hand side, and if that was another player, he'd be absolutely slated at that point. Yeah. So I think it's all about how the players apply themselves rather than the individuals, if you know what I mean.
You're right. There was times, I think it was the first goal, that Raskin and Asgard were just jogging next to the Motherwell player. It was honestly, I was raging at Ibrox because I went with such anticipation, and then you've seen that work rate from your players that are giving it big licks in the media. As you said earlier on, Rob, I wish you'd shut up and just focus on the game. I can't help but think though, against Motherwell, the manager's system was so wrong. You know, I don't want to keep going back to the Motherwell game, but in that game, going 2 central midfielders against Motherwell was suicide. and then not changing it earlier as well. See, with that whole kind of target of Magoma, it was crying out after 15, 20 minutes to put Diamandi onto left centre mid to protect Magoma a wee bit more, because you knew that Gassama wasn't the one that was going to come back and track back. The manager got the system wrong. He got the starting 11 wrong, and he got the subs way too late. You know, I've been full of praise for Danny Rule of late. For me, that was all on Danny Rule last week, and as much as the players need to show it tomorrow, and I know we're going to talk about predictions for the team, Scott, it's easier sometimes said in hindsight, because I know that, you know, within our own platform, we couldn't argue with the team sheet, but we're not paid every single day to look at the opposition and how the opposition's going to play against us and how we should best target them. Anyone who knows football and seen Motherwell play would have known that a 4-4-2 was a suicidal formation to play. And I hope, we were talking about the starting 11 tomorrow, I hope we get the system right, because the system fundamentally needs to work so that you're not expecting guys to be putting in extra shifts because they're covering for a man that's missing in the middle of the park, for example.
So, Dougie, I'm not going to ask you to give your team lineup as such yet, but are you suggesting tomorrow maybe a slight change of shape for Tynecastle? So, historically, as you know, we've seen that for treble 2 with almost 6 sitting narrow ahead of a back 4. Are you suggesting maybe we change that tomorrow a wee bit?
I am, because, you know, there was a lot of people critical of Shamiti against Motherwell, for example. I don't know what they were expecting from Shamiti and Miovski, because they were working off of scraps against Motherwell. There wasn't a lot going on in the final third. There was a lot of long balls for Shamiti to chase down.
Yeah.
Fundamentally, against Hearts, we need to be resolute. We need to make sure that when they're coming forward, we are in our position and we can challenge and we can win the ball. But also, when we've got the ball, we've got players in positions that we can pass the ball out. The criticism of a 4-4-2 is, seeing a game where you're highly dominant, you've got high possession, you're creating a lot of chances, and you need 2 strikers in the box. It's brilliant. It works brilliantly. But against Motherwell, who are a good football side, they're not prime Barcelona, but they are a good football side. And likewise against Hearts tomorrow at Tynecastle, there's going to be times that we're under the cosh. There's going to be times that we are not fully dominant. And when that's the case, we are going to need guys a bit deeper who are going to be able to contribute. And I think that's the criticism I've got of a 4-4-2. For one, I would not play 4-4-2, but I completely agree with Sheryl. You play your best players from the start.
Yeah.
See if Mikey Moore's only got 45 minutes in him, play him from the start and take him off at half time. None of this protecting players nonsense. We've got a league title to win.
Rob, we'll come to you last of all on the Romans and Naderi situation. I think we all agree that if both are fit, then both will play. I suspect if Naderi's playing, he will start in a 2 up top at Tynecastle, you would imagine.
Yeah, I don't think he will start though. I think it'll probably be too soon for him. I think if he's going to get any minutes, it'll be off the bench. Romans, I think, will come in just because we're going to need that bit more of a physical presence, I think, on that left hand side than Magoma's going to give us. But at least it's good to see that we'll potentially have back of them both of them back. Sorry, because we'll need them. You know, ultimately Nadiri, really frustrating that he kind of gets his kind of first league goal for us, and then all of a sudden gets injured and we don't see him for a few weeks. Because ultimately he's got a part to play in this run-in. Like Dougie and Sheryl have said, though, it's going to be all about what that shape looks like. If you look at the Motherwell game, you know, I think they played more of a 4-2-3-1 against us. Hearts have played similar against us this season.
Yeah.
So therefore, can we afford to go a 4-2-2-2 and leave a man spade in midfield? I don't think we can, especially away from home. You're going to need to have the 3 midfielders in there and people that are going to work. We can't afford a passenger in there. The creativity is going to have to come from the wide players and maybe the other midfielders that are going to be pushing forward. So it's an interesting one because Hearts are in the driving seat in this game. You know, they've got a 4-point lead on us at the moment. A point for them is probably good enough just now because it's still in their hands. They've got the final game to go to Parkhead and beat Celtic if things stay the same to win the league. It's on us, and like everybody said, none of this crap about feeling our way into the game. You go there and you put a bit of pressure on Hearts, you get an early goal, and you see what happens. Because ultimately, we need to ask the question of them. And you know, we can't afford to have a Moore on the bench if he's fit. Get him in for the start. Let's attack and let's actually show the fans that we want to win this bloody title.
Yeah.
There's only 4 games left. At the end of the day, if we're 2 up, we're inside 45 and we can see it out, it puts us in a massive driving seat for the rest of the games. You know, can you imagine the buzz from the players going to Parkhead the very next game where we turned them over 3-1? Previously there. Great opportunity for us.
Do you know my only worry with that, Rob, is we're so dodgy at the back in terms of the goals that we're shipping, and we don't seem to have 90 minutes in us. Because I was thinking that when I seen that result today and how I didn't watch it, but how poor apparently Celtic were in patches, it took me back to that 2-2 draw at Ibrox when we started incredibly well, but were absolutely burst after 60 minutes, and then the inevitable happened. You could feel it already. You could feel it on the pitch. You could feel it around the stands. So that's my only worry about us absolutely going for it, because have we got that in us for 90 minutes, for 80 minutes? I don't know.
I think we're at the stage. I was going to say, I think we're at the stage of the season now, Sheryl, where we've just got to go for it. You've got to go balls out, and if you don't, we don't deserve to win the title. You know, if we put in a performance in the first half tomorrow, like we did at Hibs away, like we did at Livy, like we did against Motherwell, we don't deserve to win the fucking league. Excuse my French. You know, we the players have got to believe that if they go and put their best foot forward, take the game to Hearts, get a goal, maybe get 2, anything can happen. And then it's up to them to want to do the dirty stuff to make sure that even if we're not as scintillating as we are in the second half, that we're still working hard and we're throwing our bodies in the line, because that's what we've not seen for the team yet this year. You know, that last gasp defending, if nothing's going well, you dig in and you just make it difficult for the other team to break down. Like you say, we've been given goals left, right and centre. It's up to them to get their shit together now and show business end of the season they've got the bottle to be able to go and do it.
That Motherwell third goal could be huge, because a 2 each draw, 1 point, sees you 3 points behind top. So when you then beat Hearts, you go even. And actually that goal comes late on in the game. For me, it comes back down to fitness again, because Stephen O'Donnell, who is an absolutely terrible footballer, was given the freedom of Ibrox Park to just stroll right through the pitch. And then I'm in the Copeland, and he's went from left back, and I'm shouting, somebody take him, somebody just take him out. Nobody get anywhere near him. And for me, that's what's really frustrating about us right now. You know, I think you said it earlier on, Rob, it's about that attitude and application. Where was anyone in that pitch busting a gut to just take him out and win that ball back? It's severely lacking. And the most Rangers thing is that we will go out and win tomorrow night. And listen, I'm here for it. I want to see it. But it's the most Rangers thing possible, because it's been the most inconsistent Rangers team that I can remember in recent years. On one hand, you get the game against Motherwell, and then hopefully on the other hand, tomorrow we go out and put in a brilliant performance against Hearts. Would not surprise me, but I'm hoping it is.
Let's do a little bit now about team selections and formations, which I think is a bigger one than maybe I even thought it was going to be at 5-8, to be perfectly honest with you. Kells, who is looking in on YouTube, goes with Butland, Sterling, Fernandez, Giga and Romans, Chukwani, Barron, Diamandi, Raskin, Moore and Chermiti. Formation-wise, I'm trying to work that out. Pass. So I think there's, Dougie, I think coming to you first, I think there's loads of names in there that I think you almost would expect to see in Danny Rose starting lineup tomorrow. Give us your one if you don't mind.
There's probably only 2 that I think are question marks right now. You might hate me for saying this, but one of them's the right back. There's a serious question mark over when you're in a title race, do you play your experienced player and your leader? So for me, Sterling did not have a good game against Motherwell, by the way. In fact, Sterling was very, very poor against Motherwell. And it speaks volumes that at one point, was it the first half or was it second half? There was 1 point Tav came out of the dugout and started giving instructions to Sterling. I don't know if you noticed it.
Yeah, I've seen it.
I don't know what that's all about when your substitute right back's telling you're on the field right back where to be and what to do. But for me, I think Tav came on actually, and I think the defence looked a wee bit more secure when he came on at that point. So I'd start Tav, which is potentially controversial because Sterling is naturally the better defender of the two. But other than that, the back four then for me is right. The midfield there, the immediate thing that kind of jumps out to me is the lack of a right winger or somebody to play on the right. You've got Moore there who can play on the left, drift in or whatever.
Yeah.
But if you've got Chukwueze, Diomande, Raskin, Barron, they're all too central. So one of them needs to go for somebody to play on the right. It was telling that the manager did not bring on Scovolson or Ant-Man. And I do not know for the life of me how Gassama stayed on for 90 minutes against Motherwell. One of them should have been on. And you know what? One of them might have came on and stuck a right good claim for tomorrow night. But given none of them came on, suggests that none of them are even in the manager's thinking for tomorrow night. So one of them for me will come out and Asgard will start on the right. There's a lot of criticism in the chat again about Asgard, and I've seen a lot of it on social media. I get, right, there's two major things for me about Asgard against Motherwell. One, their first goal, he was one of the players jogging it in. And I manage an over 35s team, and I would be raging at that, right? He also had a big chance, one of many big chances at ballooned over the bar, and actually seeing isolation, any good player should be hitting a target there. So very frustrating there from Asgard. But see, overall, Asgard was nowhere near as bad against Motherwell as some people would have you believe. So I do think Asgard, and I'm guaranteed there's going to be comments galore calling me out for that, right? But I imagine Asgard will start on the right because I don't think he'll start Gassama on the right. I don't think he'll put Scovolson or Ant-Man in the right, purely on the basis that they didn't come on against Motherwell. It's who's going to come out. There's a huge question mark over who it is that will come out. For me, none of them are obvious starters, which is so frustrating, Scott, because actually at points we've been talking about the strengths of Chukwueze, of Raskin, Barron at points in the season, Diomande. I think Diomande came on and had a really good game, so Diomande for me will start. I think Raskin is his go-to man on the park, as he's spoken about before, so I think he'll start. It's then a question mark over whether it's going to be Chukwueze or Barron that will also start. And you know what? You could argue either way, so I'm not going to call it. But yeah, that would be my thoughts on the 11.
Rob, your turn on, you go, buddy.
Well, I am going to call it. I would start Chukwueze, Raskin and Diomande as your three, but have Chukwueze as the deeper player, and allowing Raskin and Dio to play a little bit further up the pitch.
Yeah.
I would put Ant-Man in the right. I think just because you're going to need your wingers to work in a game like this, and he's had a bit of a stop-start career so far, but he's got a little bit of pace. He got the assist at Falkirk for Miovski. I was hoping that he would at least got some minutes, and like you, I still don't understand how Gassama managed to finish that game. Gassama would be the one that comes off the bench potentially to make an impact, because he did that against Hearts at Ibrox for us. And your back four, I think you are going Romans, Jigger, Fernandez, and I know he had a bad game, but I probably would go Sterling just for the physicality and the pace, because ultimately they'll maybe try and target Tav in there. I think again it comes back to what we said. The chances are going to be slim. Chimiti's obviously going to start up top. We need him to be the striker that's been scoring regularly in the big games and not the one that's been missing these chances, because when we do get a sniff, you need it to be taken to put pressure on the other team. Mikey Moore, if fit, should be on the left hand side, and then it gives you a few options. You can freshen it up with Barron coming on a little bit later on the game. But for me, I think the midfield of Dio, Raskin and Chukwueze will be the one that I would like to see. I think Chukwueze played as the deeper midfielder in Sturm Graz when they won the title. He's capable of that. I actually think if he has movement in front of him, he would be a decent passer of the ball. Problem we've got with this Rangers team at the moment is sometimes we're so bloody static when we play the ball, and we've got it that there's no movement, so there's no options for people to play that progressive pass forward. It's going to be interesting, but like I say, I think for me it's about the attitude and application of whoever's picked. You could quite easily have 3 or 4 different variations of a starting lineup,
Yeah.
but it's all about how they attack the game.
Sheza, you're up.
Right, I am going with Rob on Sterling over Tav, because straight away you said exactly what I was thinking. They'll target Tav, and he's not really had a great time at Tynecastle, has he? So I wouldn't be starting Tav. But I see, for me recently, I thought he started really well, but Chakwani looks burst. He looks like he could do a wee bit of rest. And for a wee bit dig, and somebody that, at times people say, oh, is a wee bit of a limited footballer. But for me, I'd be going for the same 3 in midfield as Dougie. I'd be starting Barron, Dio and Raskin. And I think we'll see and Ant-Man as well. I'm agreeing with Rob. Ant-Man on the right for me as well. Gassama, nowhere near that. I have no problems with him coming on later as an impact sub. And I think, depending on how things are when the Dairy, he'll maybe come on later and we'll make that shift to 2 up front. But your 1 up front is definitely Jermaine.
Can we talk about Chukwueze being absolutely burst after we've had a break for a week in Spain? What is that all about? Because I agree with you, he looked knackered against Motherwell.
Mm-hmm.
So Spain will forever be an absolute mystery to me as to why we felt we have to do it. I didn't get it at the time. I still don't properly understand it now, and I think a lot of people cite the match at Ibrox last weekend as saying, hindsight being 20/20, etc. But I did say at the time, I was a bit surprised that it was something that we felt we had to do, frankly. I know Hearts done it as well, same complex by all accounts, but for me, it was a strange one. I'll give you my starting lineup for tomorrow. So I would start with Butland, of course. I would go with a back 4 of Tav, Giga, Fernandes and Romans. I would have a midfield 3 of Barron, Raskin and Diomande. And I would start Chermiti up front, with Moore down the left. And I would start Scott Olsen tomorrow at Tynecastle.
Does that not speak volumes that we've all gone with someone different on right-hand side? Because nobody has nailed it down this season, Scott.
But I think, do you know the main reason I actually think he's a best option on the right-hand side? And I know some people mump and moan because of what we've seen, and I get that, I understand that, but it speaks to how poor the alternatives are. But I think it also speaks to how the 2 up top in recent times just has looked a wee bit disjointed. So I think he has to do something tomorrow. Hearts are unbeaten at home all season from memory. And they just have to get the job done tomorrow. And I think it will ultimately be won by whatever we choose to play across the centre of the pitch. And I personally think having 3 in there is going to be way better than having the 2 that we've seen backing forward previously. But yeah, Dougie, you're absolutely right. I think the fact that, do you know what I mean, we've all effectively named reasonably different sides. I think it's just, it speaks to what the season's been like generally, doesn't it?
What's your thinking around Tav and the right backs? I know we've obviously had our difference of opinion on our captain throughout this season. What do you put him in the starting 11 for? What's your reason?
So I'm putting him in there because I felt Sterling was really poor last weekend. I mean, I really did. And it's really difficult to pick. I think it's difficult for us to pick a relatively decent option at right back now, because we know that Tav's on his last legs, and I don't know, you could argue has his eye elsewhere on wherever he's going to be next season. And I don't want to get into the debate about whether the announcement should have came now or later on in the season, by the way. That's a different debate entirely. We're not going there tonight. But I just felt Sterling was really poor last week. Sterling strikes me as the sort of player that if he doesn't have a good first 5 minutes, you're going to be really wary of him as the match continues. And I personally felt that's what we got last week. I like him. I actually think, I do wonder if him sitting as part of a duo, or so see, for example, when we go to Celtic Park, for example, I wouldn't be at all surprised if Sterling plays the right side of a 3 at the back, just to give some additional protection, because Maeda will obviously be in about it and we need someone to take after him. So I just think Tav's a better option, or not as, I don't want to say it's bad an option. I just think there's a reliability there. And I think in a game like this tomorrow, for example, it points to your captain playing, your captain starting, and your captain leading. And I think it's really important we've got that tomorrow. Anytime we go into these games, we have to have our captain right at the front of things. And everyone knows what James Tavernier's playing for between now and a couple of weeks down the road. He's got a real opportunity tomorrow to show that he is a leader, to show that he can lead, to show that he is in it for these next 4 games with the hope of finishing his career at Rangers with a captain lifting a trophy above his head. I hope he gets it. I would start him tomorrow.
Do you know what we're all united on though? No Asgard.
I said
Dougie. I know.
You did.
That's because you're a fud, Dougie. Though I wasn't going to dig you up on that, but to be honest, I thought I will call you out on it.
You're starting a guy that the manager didn't even bring off the bench. So who's the fud?
Do you know the thing that really gets me is that, and I read it today, is that even if we win tomorrow, ultimately it's going to go down to the match at Celtic Park, isn't it? That's my worry. I'll be brutally honest. My worry at the moment is that I felt it was going to be between us and Hearts. And I've said previously I felt Hearts would have won at Acanta. I've been proven wrong as time has passed. I'm now a wee bit concerned that there's someone else in the race, and they've absolutely got as good a chance as we've got as things stand at the minute. Rob,
we can only focus on us, Scotty.
And that's where I was going to go next, and we can only focus on us. I guess the next question, and by the time I pod next with the group, we'll know exactly if we've done this or not. Do we get 4 wins?
Do we get 4 wins?
Do
I want 4 wins?
I know you'll want 4 wins.
It's not without the realms of possibility. You know, we've beaten these teams this season.
100%.
I kind of think my head logically thinking is we probably don't get 4 wins, but my heart's saying we will get 4 wins.
Yeah,
it's the internal battle that I think most Rangers fans are going to be facing at the moment. You know, it's the eternal optimist in every single one of us that is like, yes, we can win these next 4 games, and how sweet it would be if a Callum McGregor or a James Forrest scores the equalising goal against Hearts or something to hand us the title. It'd be perfect in the last day of the season. It'd be a fantastic way to top it off. But realistically, we can't look past Hearts. The only thing we can do tomorrow is worry about that game. If we win that game, then great. It's only 3 more games we've got to win. Yeah. But you can't look ahead to Hibs and Falkirk because you need to get past Celtic. You know, and I think that is genuinely the way that I'm kind of thinking about it just now and compartmentalising the games is that it is literally all the focus is on Hearts. That's the final that we're facing at the moment, to use Danny's term. And if we win that, great. It's another wee tick box. It's the next hurdle, and then we just focus on the game against them at Parkhead, and we've beaten them there this year. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm looking at the chat, and there's some that are RJ Muir is yes. Now he's either at home himself doing something in his own room, or he's genuinely concerned that we're going to win these next 4 games. And a couple of guys are doubtful. A couple are just saying they almost don't fancy it. Dougie, where's your head at? I'm conscious that the next time I'm going to be podding, we'll be champions or we won't. It's do you know what I mean? It's that linear, to be perfectly honest.
Do you know, it's funny, I was just reflecting what Rob said there about the 4 games. I remember in probably about January time saying that 80 points feels like the magic number. If we want to hit 80 points, we need to win all 4 games. If we don't win all 4 games, we don't win the league. It's as simple as that. Do I think we will win all 4 games? Not with the inconsistent Rangers team that we are watching right now. I don't. I'd love us to, naturally. I just feel really uneasy about this team. I think I said it in the last pod that we were on. When we won 55, you could have picked anyone from that squad and had them up for Player of the Year. When we had the discussion 2 weeks ago who was up for Player of the Year, we were kind of between Mikey Moore and Fernandez, like understanding that Fernandez took a while to settle and Mikey Moore hasn't always been as strong as what he's been.
Yep.
That speaks volumes about this team. It's not been a brilliant season from a Rangers perspective, it's great for Scottish football, but it's not been brilliant for us. So I don't know what we're going to see, but as I said earlier on, it's up to this team. It's up to the manager and his players to show that they want to win this league title. They've got 4 games to prove it, and yeah, I mean, I kind of said earlier on about last week against Motherwell feeling like a carnival atmosphere. The one thing I'd say about that is the fans brought it. See, during that game, the atmosphere at times, see when it went 2 each, the atmosphere was electric.
Yeah, agreed.
There's no question that the fans are doing absolutely everything that we possibly can to get behind this team. If the players cared about this football club and the supporters, they would go out and give everything in the next 4 games. So it's about the players. And I tell I don't want to sound as ruthless as this, right? Every single one of their Rangers careers up for grabs right now. Because see if we don't win the next 4 games, there's question marks over everyone, top to bottom, Scott. Players, you can pick out individual guys. There's a lot of criticism of Asgard being too lazy. If Asgard doesn't bring it in the next 4 games, everyone's like, sell him in the summer. If Shermicky doesn't score in the next 4 games, it's punt him in the summer. If you go right through it, Skov Olsen doesn't get his games, it's don't sign him in the summer. But we've not spoken about the manager yet. If the manager doesn't win the next 4 games, he is under huge pressure, rightly or wrongly. That's how important these next 4 games are. It's important for winning a league this season, but it's important for their futures. They are playing for their Rangers careers right now, and they need to show it.
Because I think I remember, strangely enough, maybe even about a year ago or 18 months ago, Calvin saying the same thing, and I'll come back with the same thing that I said to him then. I don't think it's what's clearly not as important to them as it is to us. I don't think they view it with the same, and maybe they shouldn't. Maybe obviously we're supporters. We've been supporters for a long time. I just, with this current squad, don't see that same level of passion. And I don't think, and they must on some level, they will realise how important it is, but do they truly believe it? Do they truly believe that they can win these next 4 games? And is it really important? Well, no, we've seen them jogging back last Sunday. It's not, they're no busting a gut. And I don't know, I've just interrupted there, Scotty, but I don't know if you were going to come to me, I'm going to use my old adage, my diplomatic thing of it's possible, but not probable. For me.
So I'm going to jump back in again, Scott, because going back to 55, right, you had a manager in Steven Gerrard that was a born winner, right? Danny Rule might be a promising young manager, right, but I've not seen him being the born, proven winner that Steven Gerrard was, right? Then you've got the players. You had a fantastic balance of youth and experience under Steven Gerrard, guys like Jermaine Defoe, Stephen Davis, Alan McGregor, but then you also had guys that bleeded Rangers. McGregor, Davis, Arfield, these guys would have died in that pitch to win that title. We are lacking, as a squad, we are lacking that balance, the balance of youth experience, the balance of guys that are prepared to die in the pitch. In the summer, whether we win this league or not, there needs to be huge changes.
How long did it take Gerrard to get to that squad to win 55, Dougie? That's the big question that we need to also look back on. He didn't do that in a summer. He did that over 2.5 seasons to get to that point. And that's the thing. It doesn't
Steven
matter.
Gerrard inherited a far worse team than what Danny Rule did, by the way.
And equally, how much shite did we spend money on in the summer that should never be near iBooks, but we're having to manage them and play them through the rest of the season. The whole point is it took Gerrard 2.5 seasons to get to that point. If he came in the summer, I still think with that same recruitment, he's going to get the same result. The players either have that attitude and that quality, or they don't. A manager can only improve them so far. And Gerrard wouldn't be delivering us the league with the same group of players, in my humble opinion. It would take him time to do it, and it took him time to do it the first time. So we need to have a bit of patience as well.
I don't think Raskin or Asgard would have jogged back for that first goal against Motherwell under Steven Gerrard. I just don't. I think they would have been well drilled in terms of that work rate, and I think they'd have been terrified to go in at half time knowing that they just half-arsed a tracking back and conceded a goal. I think that's the big difference between Gerrard and Rule for me. I think Danny Rule, tactically, is potentially a better manager. I also think he's identified good players. See the recruitment in January, Scove Olsen's not worked out, but I think the profile is right. I just think the tiny minute difference right now is that Steven Gerrard was an absolute winner, and I'm yet to see that from Danny Rule.
Do you know what would come? And it's a really good debate. What I would instantly come back, the season of 55 was a bit different from any other season that I think we've seen for us and for them. Regardless of maybe failed seasons before under Steven Gerrard, I think that year in particular was really different for everyone. Dougie, my goodness, you have set a fire in the comments. I'm so glad you
love it.
Listen, what I do want to do is, because I'm conscious we've got about 15 minutes left to go, and this is important, and I do want to cover it. The club released a statement on Friday, and I'm reading this off screen, so if it looks like I'm not looking directly at it, I'm definitely not. We are deeply disappointed with the SPFL's decision to accept the ultimatum placed upon our ticket allocation for the game on the 10th of May. It sets a concerning precedent with potentially lasting consequences for the league and match-going fans, cutting across the spirit of the competition and disregarding the established agreement on away allocation between clubs. In light of the SPFL's decision, the Union Bears have volunteered that they do not wish to be included within the club's ticket allocation for this fixture. Our club, our supporters and the reputation of Rangers will continue to be defended robustly while the Scottish FA's independent process regarding the events on the 8th of March run its course. This is a defining match at a crucial stage of the season, and it is important that Rangers supporters are present to back the team. We will therefore take up the allocation available to us. Our focus now turns to the matches ahead and on the field and off of it, working with all relevant stakeholders to ensure that they are delivered safely, fairly and professionally. Robert, I think the club have dealt with this absolutely spot on.
Yeah, I agree, but I think, like we kind of said on Friday night, it sets a bit of a dangerous precedent for Scottish football, that clubs will be able to dictate and set restrictions on opposition fans going to the game. I think the other thing is, stuff like this is almost impossible to police. You know, we made the joke, are they going to have like a line of lie detectors surrounding the stadium and asking people, are you a member of the Union Bears, before they're allowed to go past the cordon? Ultimately, it's quite ironic that a group of fans that were banned by their own team managed to get away tickets at a game at an opposition stadium, broke through security barriers and caused overcrowding in that end, and then wrecked that stadium. And they're the club that are moaning about health and safety issues and safety issues around certain fan groups. I think you're right, the club have actually handled this well, but it's going to be interesting to see what that means for future games. I assume that it will be next game at Ibrox, no Green Brigade will be there. But like we know, these fans can get their hands on tickets. You know, you don't have to say that you're a member of the Union Bears to get into Ibrox. You know, there's no register of I think who are a part of the Union Bears, and if they really want to get their hands on a ticket, they can. You know, and there's no way to be able to police that. But it's a really interesting precedent that's now been set by the officials that run our game to say, yes, a club can dictate who and who can't attend a game at a stadium now, or who we can sell an allocation to. Because you'll have other fans at other clubs, you know, I'm thinking maybe Hibs and Hearts, is there going to be potentially some restrictions there if they don't like what some of their fans do? It's just really, really interesting.
Do you know what we, Dougie, the Union Bears, and I'm trying to find it frantically in the background because we are a professionally run organisation, obviously not tonight, and I can't find it. But the Union Bears did absolutely release a statement that I thought, and the Union Bears sometimes get a bit of a doing. They absolutely do. But I think the statement they released was absolutely spot on as well.
Okay, time to make myself a fairly unpopular figure for a moment here. Those scenes were not... those scenes were unacceptable, right? Whether we like to admit it or not, we were involved in it and it came from the Union Bears. There's going to be repercussions. You've got to be realistic here, right? There was going to be repercussions from that. I am glad it's not a total ban of Rangers supporters and it's only the Union Bears, right? That's the first thing that I'll say. The 5% inside that stadium that are non-Union Bears members or potential Union Bears members that have passed a lie detector, bring the fucking noise and represent Rangers Football Club inside Celtic Park. But there was two teams involved. It wasn't just Rangers. And actually, if you see the footage inside the Brimlin, there was Celtic supporters jumping through the turnstiles and stewards just looking at them. So it sets a very dangerous precedent to identify one group of supporters and say you're not allowed inside our stadium. Because as Rob said, fast forward next season to the next game at Ibrox, Rangers will just turn around and say the Green Brigade aren't allowed inside Ibrox because the last time they were here, they rampaged through our stadium and they caused thousands of pounds worth of damage. And let's not forget the damage that they caused. It was disgusting, some of the things that were written inside our stadium, and thousands of pounds worth of damage, right? So two clubs were involved, two sets of supporters were involved, only one set of supporters were punished. That's not right, but are we surprised from the SFA?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with a lot of that. I have to say, I do think that I go back to what I say earlier. I think there was two ways they could have played it, and I think if it was a case you're getting nothing, it would have been an absolute disaster. But I come back to something that to an opinion that I've felt for a long, long time. One of the biggest derbies in the world is in Argentina, where River play Boca Juniors, and to my knowledge, and I may be wrong, away fans don't get anywhere near that. They do not get near that. I would just have the same here. I've said at the time, Sheryl, I wouldn't have them back at our place. And if that means we don't get the opportunity to go back to their place, then that's absolutely fine too. It's a bragging rights match at the end of the day. 4 matches, get on with it. If you've got the fans in the ground, great. If you don't, it'll be what it'll be. Where do you stand on it?
Do you know what? It's really difficult, Scotty. I've had some incredible times pre my Jers, I have to say. I used to get tickets away for Parkhead all the time, and I have had some incredible afternoons there. To be there and to be part of that when it goes well, it's just completely unforgettable. So I think you're right. I think we're going to head to a time where there's just no away fans. Yeah. In one sense, I think it's a real shame for people who'll never experience, like my son, he'll never experience the times that I had at Parkhead because that just won't be an option. Yeah. But then the other side of it is I wasn't allowed to go to Old Firm games at all till I was about 12 years old. Having no fans there meant I could take my son at 4 years old and put my hands over his ears at certain points, but he was quite safe to be there, and he's enjoyed that. He's now went back when there has been fans because he's now used to it. He knows the lie of the land, etc. I'm going to praise the Union Bears. I thought their statement was very, very good. I've seen a few people say that they think that the club should have gone a wee bit harder. I think the club have played it really, really well. I think, that like us, when that statement came out, we knew how it was going to play out. We knew the minute Celtic say that there's been a risk assessment, you can't argue. You're never going to argue against that. So we knew how it was going to play out. The club have responded. I don't think there was a need to go any harder. I think we know that the people that we want to be there will be there. Yeah. And I just hope that we provide the same level of checks that Celtic did when they were dealing with the tickets for the 8th of March, and then we'll be fine.
Just on what Sheryl said there, Scotty, I think the time where the club might want to go a bit harder is once this independent review is done into what happened at Ibrox, because ultimately there's a lot of responsibility that needs to go on the shoulder of people like Police Scotland, etc. Because I don't think they manage the situation particularly well. If you think of what happens at the games at Hampden, that survives in a 50-50 split of that stadium, but they're a bit more proactive than they were at Ibrox, and they could have kept a lid on that situation, but they didn't. So it's really going to be important, and I think even after it, the statement from Rangers was good about making sure that everybody takes their share of the responsibility, and that it should be an open and transparent kind of review of everything that happened, because they've kind of done the slopey shoulder thing and said, oh, well, it's not a responsibility, two clubs need to work it out. So I don't know how much more the club can do, but time will tell how they'll respond. But that's depending on what happens with that review, that's probably where they'll need to go a little bit harder, depending on what comes out.
Scott, I've seen some comments earlier on in the chat about a game between Inverness Cali and Hamilton Accies yesterday, which caused a mass pitch invasion with scraps between the support. I expect the full media outrage around that game as well.
Yeah, so I never seen that, but I did see. I saw the comments in the messages at the start, just as we were starting, and I will need to go and see that because I'm fairly sure that the Scottish Government will be all over it, and there'll be head rolling left, right, and centre tomorrow morning. Dougie, we will just about wrap it up. We're getting 3 points tomorrow.
Yeah,
good man. Sheryl, same question to you. I love it.
Of course.
Of course. And Rob, lastly, but by no means you.
Yes, we will. And I just need to make a comment to Sheryl. Did you have to put your hand over the wee man's ears because you were sitting next to
You were
Dougie?
singing. Don't answer that, Sheryl, because you could get yourself in a lot of bother. I urge you not to take that on. Listen, before I let everyone go, we are obviously around all week starting tomorrow. I imagine there'll be something post-match after Tynecastle. So stay where you are and stay with us tomorrow and jump in and check that out. See what the guys are saying. Dougie, thanks for joining us tonight. Thank you, buddy.
Yeah, thanks very much for having us. It feels a really weird one tonight because we've not had the game and we're looking ahead after getting beat last week. I think I said in one of the previous pods that we were on, the momentum will constantly shift depending on the result that we had in the last game. And I think that's why I'm a wee bit deflated right now, but it's up to Rangers tomorrow to get us all back on side and believing again.
Yeah. Sheryl, thanks for coming on.
Lovely beat on with my 3 faves. Thank you. Fingers crossed for tomorrow. Hopefully, when we're all back together in 2 weeks' time, we'll be celebrating.
Yes, indeed. And Rob, good to have you on again, buddy. Thank you.
Really good to be on. I was going to make a joke about pumping Dougie so that he was feeling a little bit more inflated, but I'll leave that and then just say good night.
Wowzers. So we should say thanks to all the obvious people that are looking after us this season: Candid, Rhino Express, Clydeview Joinery, Athol Industrial Solutions, CSD Air Conditioning, Arctic Gold, Black Rooster, and we are also proud to support the RYDC for the duration of the season as well. Good luck to Rangers tomorrow. 3 down after tomorrow, and hopefully we win our first cup final of the split tomorrow. So join the guys tomorrow post-match. I'm sure there'll be something. And Rob is back next week with the squad for the second last Sunday show of the season, which should, if nothing else, be an extremely eventful one on Old Firm Sunday. So we look forward to that. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Get involved in the comments with the guys during the week. And that will do us for now. Thanks for joining. Good night.
The Four Lads podcast is sponsored by Rhino Express, Clydeview Joinery, Athol Industrial Solutions Limited, and CSD Air Conditioning, in partnership with Black Rooster and Art of Gold. Thank you for listening to or watching the podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show.